She was the perfect wife of a respected police sergeant. He was the rookie her husband mentored. No one in the quiet California town saw it coming until 2 bodies were found in a motel room, and the man who uncovered the truth vanished without a trace. What began as a forbidden affair ended in a chilling mystery that still haunts investigators to this day. The sun-drenched town of Cypress Hills, California, was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked. Children played freely in front yards, and families waved to passing police cruisers with warm familiarity. The police department there wasn't large, but it was trusted. It prided itself on keeping the community safe without scandals or internal controversies. The officers were like extended family to the townspeople. Among them was Sergeant Daniel Foster, a 45-year-old veteran of the force who wore his badge with pride. Known for his fairness and calm demeanor, Daniel was a father figure to the younger officers and a rock for the department at home. Daniel lived with his wife of 20 years, Karen Foster, and their teenage daughter. Karen was beautiful, elegant, and always put together. She volunteered at local shelters and helped organize school fundraisers. She was the ideal police wife, supportive, understanding, and admired by the community. But beneath her composed exterior was a woman silently battling emotional isolation. Daniel, dedicated to his work, had grown distant over the years. Their conversations became brief, their shared moments hollow. Nights were often spent apart, and intimacy was a fading memory. The stillness in their home was disturbed when Officer Evan Myers entered the picture. Fresh out of the academy and only 24 years old, Evan was energetic, ambitious, and eager to learn. Daniel, tasked with mentoring him, introduced Evan to all aspects of precinct life. The young recruit quickly became a fixture in their lives, often stopping by for dinner, running errands for Daniel, and helping out with community events alongside Karen. The more time Evan spent around the family, the more visible his charm became. His youthful energy, attention to detail, and admiration for Karen didn't go unnoticed. Karen found herself smiling more. She felt seen again. Evan listened, laughed at her jokes, and complimented things Daniel hadn't noticed in years. Initial connections seemed harmless, even friendly. But beneath the surface, a magnetic pull had already started. A dangerous one. The relationship between Karen and Evan began innocently. Evan helped with small household tasks, picked up groceries, and even walked the family dog when Daniel worked late. Karen appreciated the attention. Evan, meanwhile, found himself captivated by her grace, maturity, and poise. There was an undeniable chemistry that grew stronger with each passing day. Their conversations evolved from casual to deeply personal. Evan confided in Karen about his upbringing, his fears about fitting in at the department, and his ambition to rise through the ranks. Karen, in turn, revealed the loneliness she felt in her marriage. They began texting regularly, sometimes late, at night, sometimes under the guise of work-related topics. When Daniel wasn't home, Evan would linger just a bit longer. What started as harmless comfort soon turned into a covert obsession. The first physical encounter happened during a rainy evening when Daniel had been called out to investigate a traffic collision. Evan had dropped by to return a borrowed toolbox. Karen invited him in for coffee. One thing led to another, and in a moment of passion, the line between propriety and desire was crossed. From that night on, their secret affair spiraled. Booked hotel rooms under fake names, met in abandoned lots, and took road trips under the pretense of separate errands. Karen was consumed by the rush of it all. Evan, too, found himself intoxicated with the thrill, secrecy, excitement, and the forbidden nature of their connection made it irresistible. But the town, small and observant, began to whisper. Karen was seen too often around town alone with Evan. Evan's late-night visits to Thefester home became noticeable. One of Daniel's colleagues reported seeing Evan's car parked in front of Karen's yoga studio during off hours. Was no concrete proof yet. The rumor mill had begun spinning, slowly tightening the noose around them. The unraveling Daniel had always trusted Karen implicitly, but even he could not ignore the sudden shift in her behavior. Her mood changed often. She was distant yet restless. She took longer trips to run errands and guarded her phone with a new intensity. At first, he thought she might be dealing with some personal issue, possibly related to their daughter. But when he checked their shared bank account, He noticed unfamiliar charges: hotel bookings, out-of-town gas stations, high-end lingerie he hadn't seen. Still unsure, Daniel turned to a friend in the department's intelligence unit, asking discreetly for help. Within days, he had access to surveillance footage from one of the motels listed on their account. The grainy black and white video showed Karen and Evan entering a room together late at night. The timestamp crushed him. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional. Daniel had mentored Evan, brought him into his home, trusted him. The double blow shattered something inside him, but he didn't confront them. He didn't scream or lash out. He simply withdrew. He became mechanical in his routines, cold to Karen, indifferent to his daughter, and nearly silent at work. Meanwhile, Karen and Evan began talking about a future together. Karen hinted at ending her marriage. Evan, though nervous, began envisioning a life with her. They had no idea Daniel already knew everything. The calm before the storm felt peaceful. But it was the kind of peace that precedes devastation. Then came the envelope. An anonymous package arrived at the precinct. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Karen and Evan kissing, undressing, laughing in motels, sharing meals. It was evidence meant to destroy. It reached Daniel and others too. The scandal was now an open wound. The gossip became fact, and yet Daniel still said nothing. No confrontation. Only a chilling silence that made everyone uneasy. November 19th began like any other day. Crisp air, overcast skies, and the scent of pine in the wind. Daniel completed his shift without incident. He filed reports, drank coffee, and signed out early. Nothing in his demeanor suggested anything unusual. He drove home, showered, changed into civilian clothes, and left again, this time in an unmarked department vehicle. He didn't take his service weapon, took a privately owned handgun, one that wasn't registered under department use. He filled up his gas tank in silence and drove to the edge of town. Karen and Evan had checked into their usual motel under the name Mr. and Mrs. Claymore. They had champagne, music, and candles. It was meant to be a celebration. Karen had finally worked up the courage to draft a letter to Daniel, ending their marriage. Evan was planning to propose at exactly 11:14 p.m. The motel staff heard 3 gunshots, muffled but unmistakable. Police were called within minutes. The room door had been left ajar. Inside, the scene was gruesome. Karen lay on the bed, a single gunshot to her chest. Evan was near the window, shot twice in the back. The champagne bottle had shattered. Blood was pooled across the sheets and floor. Daniel was gone. No witnesses saw him enter or exit. The security cameras were disabled, cut manually. His vehicle was later found abandoned outside the town's nature reserve. Inside were his badge ID and a single line scribbled on a receipt. They took everything. Despite a massive search effort, involving helicopters, dogs, and regional law enforcement, Daniel Foster was never found. No body, no further traces. Just a trail of devastation. The deaths of Karen and Evan devastated the community. Candlelight vigils were held. News reporters swarmed the small town. National media covered the case for weeks. What began as a quiet affair had turned into a nightmare that tainted the town's image and destroyed 3 lives. Daniel's disappearance became one of the most haunting mysteries in California true crime history. Theories abounded. Some believed he killed himself and his body would eventually surface. Others were convinced he escaped to Mexico or assumed a new identity in another state. Conspiracy theorists insisted someone in the department had helped him vanish. Over time, the noise faded, but the wound remained open. Evan's family sued the department, citing negligence in protecting their son from workplace abuse. Karen's sister moved to another city, unable to face the reminders of betrayal and loss. Their daughter, the true innocent in it all, moved in with relatives and changed her last name. 5 years later, a set of bones was discovered in the desert outside Cypress Hills. Dental records were inconclusive, but among the items found was a rusted wedding band engraved with Daniel and Karen's initials. Still, the remains were never confirmed to be his. Officially, Daniel Foster remains a fugitive. To this day, his story is taught in law enforcement ethics courses, not as a lesson in crime, but as a warning. Behind every badge is a human being. Sometimes, the weight of betrayal can turn the most trusted protector into a ghost who vanishes into the shadows, leaving only questions, scars, and silence in his wake.